Good morning, everyone. We got some people rolling in here. I'm going to take a few minutes to let people sign in and join us. And I'm going to also introduce Joanne and go through, I guess, a little bit of housekeeping. So right off the bat, if you could have your camera on, that's great. Completely understand if you can't. But I know Joanne does love if you do want to come on and ask a question or share with the group that the camera is on for that. Otherwise, if you could be muted until you are either called up to talk or ask a question, that would be great. We're going to start out with an hour-long presentation of The Filmmaker's Life, which is Joanne's interview series that she does every other Thursday morning with filmmakers from all kind of corners of the filmmaking sphere. So we're going to do that for about an hour and then really start jumping in. There will be breaks throughout the day, so don't worry about that. And we'll also do some breakout rooms and some networking and stuff too. So it'll be a lot of fun. So Joanne Butcher is our host today. For those of you who don't know her, she is a filmmaking coach, a business coach for filmmakers. She was a global marketing consultant for YouTube, and she ran their UK movie rental unit. So she's worked with hundreds of filmmakers from around the world. She was also the director of the Alliance Cinema on Lincoln Road in Miami Beach and the founder of IFP Miami and IFP National. So she created and spearheaded the Florida statewide film competition, and that provided $200,000 cash and services to a feature film. And so now working with her clients, she has over 70 features, 2 PBS series, some shorts, all in various stages of development from concept to distribution. So her expertise is in film financing, which is something that we're going to really get into over the next 2 days, and in screenwriting. So her big thing is she just wants to help people get their films funded and out into the world because that can be life-changing. So I am more than happy to introduce you all to Joanne Butcher. Thanks for being here today, everyone. Oh, Joanne, you're muted.
I used to say that was the phrase of 2021, but apparently I haven't caught up with it yet. You are muted. So anyway, thank you so much, Lexi, for that introduction. That was great. I love it when I just throw you into things and you just fly. It's awesome. um, Lexi Tatiana can't get in. She's on the wrong Zoom link. So I just wanted to welcome everybody today, and we're going to start this. We are actually doing a 2-day workshop called Money Mindset, and I'm really excited about this because I suddenly realized that I do this work one-on-one with my clients, but I haven't actually ever taught it publicly. So I'm really excited to bring this out, and I'm thrilled to see several of my clients here. So some of this is going to be familiar to you. But what I want to have happen here over the next 2 days is that we really look at the idea that everybody, I think, everybody in the world has limiting beliefs around money. And filmmakers have perhaps some particular limiting beliefs around money. And so, what would it be like if we could just figure what those are and let them go? You know, what energy would that release? What creativity would that release? You know, all of that good stuff. So we are starting out with my regular interview series. It's called The Filmmaker's Life, and I usually have one guest. Sometimes I have two. But today I have a whole bunch of guests. So several of my clients are here, and they have all been in the process of making and distributing feature films. So I thought it would be really fun to introduce a little chaos into the mix and have several of my clients all together at the same time. Some of them haven't even met before now, and find out maybe how their thinking has changed around money in the process of raising money to make their films, making their films, getting distribution, and so on. So that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to get into this topic a little bit more, and it's just not quite the regular thing. So we have as our guests, we have Moez Solis, Roberta Jones, Kevin Pontucci, Mark Gordon is somewhere, and Tatiana is trying to get on. So we'll get her in a minute. So I think what I'm going to do before we start is I'm going to show one of the trailers for one of the films. I have a few lined up here. So I'm going to start out by sharing my screen, and we're going to start with the trailer for Moez Solis's film, The Mentor. Now, I had to ask their permission to show these because Zoom is a horrible platform for showing film, but everybody said yes, so we're okay. Oh, I can't do that apparently when I'm on this screen. Maybe you can let them in, Lexi. All right, so here we go with The Mentor.
Let's get right to it. It's unoriginal, boring, and predictable. It's a mess. Did you like any of it?
Ever since I could hold a camera, I wanted to be a filmmaker. I just needed a mentor or a guide.
In the mind game.
No one's telling you, so I'm telling you.
I'm feeling sick again.
Calm down.
Everything that came before is noise.
He's gonna land this bird,
Oh.
but then it's too late. The thing just roars right over my head and
I'm sorry,
crashed
where
in the
did it
street
go?
right
Just
behind.
to note that I think that it was really didn't compress right.
A little back, a little beyond.
So, like,
of course.
I don't know if it's IMDb or just Zoom, but everything was really.
I'm racing to the ER to
I'm
prep
sorry,
for the first
I've
casualties
lost
and just thinking,
how
God,
to
I'm
switch it
alive.
off.
Army man.
Oh, I'm gonna have to just.
What?
That may have to be the last one I.
Joanne,
You're
you're muted.
You're muted.
I'm sorry, I lost track of where I had the trailers lined up, so that may have to be the last one I show, but I think Kevin can show one. So, Moez, let's start with you. What do you think has changed for you? I see a lot of change in you as a filmmaker, and I just wonder where you think you've come from before you made your film, The Mentor, to now, especially when it comes to thinking about money and any limiting beliefs about being a filmmaker. I get a lot of clients who think they're not filmmakers.
I mean, right now, the biggest benefit is I have confidence to go ahead and do another one or not be worried about raising money to make another one. That was probably my biggest issue, was not necessarily finding the money, but to going that extra mile to be asking people or doing a fundraising, whether publicly or privately. And that was kind of my biggest challenge, because in reality, we're in a space where we have to raise money to make movies. We're not. I mean, it's kind of a different dream if you're maybe have it in the studio system and or whatever, but we're not. So we have to be very independent.
So that was really interesting. Even just the word confident, I think, to be able to say I'm confident that I could raise money to make another film, I think is an incredible thing to be able to say. And what kinds of fundraising did you use for your film?
Well, I mean, I guess the family and friends model, that's sort of our basic model where, we, I independently found money on my own, but I also had asked people for money. And then we also ran the crowdfunding campaign, which, even that in itself was difficult for me, at least. And also there's kind of hard to get over that whole friends and family model too, because it just was a very big obstacle for me. Of course, when you go down that road, you learn that it's really quite normal, and so many famous, non-famous, and famous filmmakers have done that. It doesn't even mean Darren Aronofsky, Christopher Nolan, Spike Lee. They all use the same model and raise between $50,000 to $100,000, $130,000 for their movies, with doing the exact same thing. I'm not comparing myself. I'm just saying that as a whole, it's like a really normal thing to do if you can just get over that idea about money.
It's just interesting when you say the idea about money. You mean the idea of talking to people or asking people for money? Is that what you mean there?
Yeah, I guess having the confidence in yourself and asking for something that you're to help support what you're doing, because it's very normal to question yourself, but at some point you have to make it happen, and what you're doing is worthwhile. And when you realize that, then you have to just push forward to get it done. And in that case, often it requires just a little bit of money, getting just a little bit of money. You don't even need that much. But you do need to find that. Oh, you're muted, Joanne?
That's another thing. I think that a lot of filmmakers who have not made their first feature think that they have to raise a lot of money. I mean, I literally met two ladies recently who were really nice, and I'm sure their script was wonderful and so on, who told me they were making their first feature and they wanted to raise $25 million. And I'm glad you looked surprised. But I talk to people like this all the time, and they think that that's what they need to do. And so sometimes the beliefs, I think the limiting beliefs about this are that, we have to raise millions and millions of dollars. And I can absolutely assure you that those two nice ladies are still looking for that money. And I can probably also be sure that they won't get it. But, they said, but we have producers on who've made Netflix shows, and we have this and we have that, so, I wish them all the best, but $25 million is a lot of money for a first-time filmmaker.
Yeah, it is. Even $50,000 is an enormous amount of money.
Yes.
I mean, I think that's a huge amount of money, personally.
And any of my guests, I don't know quite how to just show you, to highlight you, but Mark Gordon, Roberta Jones, Kevin Pontucci, please jump in and speak. Go ahead, Mark. Oh,
I have a 30-second spot that I could try and run. Let me
please.
put it here, see if I can share the screen. Post disable. Okay.
Now, Mark is really a serious fundraiser, but we'll hear about that in a minute. Go ahead. Thank you, Mark.
So here it is, 30 seconds.
Mabel was born 100 years ahead of her time. She is suddenly free. There's so manipulative and so controlling. She's critical, she's bossy, belligerent, and Mabel died fought like cats and dogs. She was a mover and shaker.
In the house, she found an awakening.
Thank you, thank you. And this is why it's really hard to do this stuff on Zoom, because things just don't play very well. But thank you for that, and you can go and buy the whole film.
Did you have problems seeing it?
Yeah, the sound isn't right, you know, we're not, it's jumping, you know, and it's a Zoom thing. We can't do much about it.
Well, there's a lot of jump cutting in the trailer, but
oh, well, that's true. But Mark, so do you think that for you, fundraising and making films has had you grow in your beliefs about money? What have you had to do to change your beliefs about money and talking to people about money?
wow, that's huge. You know, when I started the film, I grew up, you know, making films. I went to film school. After my daughter was born, I started a marketing design business, and I did a lot of graphics and print advertising, and but I occasionally I would get to do a film, you know, a commercial or a short documentary, and I was really happy doing that, and I felt like that was what I was supposed to do. So at the time I had, you know, I had my marketing business. I'd been doing it for 20 years, and I was starting to get pretty bored with it. And I was just passionate about this story, and I'd had open heart surgery. And after open heart surgery, I felt like I had been given a chance to live. I never would have met my 3 grandsons if I hadn't had the heart surgery, and that there was something that I was supposed to be doing, and it was filmmaking, and specifically it was this film, and this was like my calling. And so I was living in California. I was established, and I inherited a little bit of money from my parents, and I just put all my stuff in storage and moved out to Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I had enough money to kind of live on for maybe 3 to 5 months. And I didn't know that people gave charitable donations and gifts. I just didn't.
That's great.
I had no idea how I was going to do it. I just was passionate about it. I was so passionate about it and so convinced that it was something that I was supposed to do that I talked to everybody that I met when I moved here. Hi, I just moved here and I'm doing this film. Well, and then at one point I was a fundraiser, a professional retired fundraiser who had raised millions of dollars for Ivy League schools back east, took pity on me and said, Mark, you should be a lot further along than you are. I mean, I was already about a year into it. And so he mentored me, and between several hundred people and some grant organizations, you know, we raised $500,000 over a 5-year period. And, you know, and I really can't tell you how I did it. I just was fearless about it. And it didn't occur to me that there was anything else I could do except talk about it. And I discovered that when I talked about it, people got passionate about it and would say like, well, how can I help? I said, well, we're looking for some $25,000 grants. And they would say, well, we can't do that, but can we give you $5,000? And it was like, $5,000. Oh my God. So, you know, so I guess the one thing that I have to say is you have to be really passionate about what you're doing. You have to be so caught up in it that you're willing to take the risk. Because I had no idea. And I have a friend who said, when I first got into business, I never knew where the next check was coming from. He said, now it's 10 years later and I still don't know where the next check is coming from. but I know that it's coming. So
that's great. I think because you know, Moez said about confidence, and I one of the things I think that is really true about fundraising. I was just talking to a client about this. I have a client who's just freaking out, and I said, you know, in fundraising, you have to have confidence. You know, there's no way that you can raise money if you're so frightened that, you know, I recently met these three lovely young women, and they were making some really important documentary, and I was talking to them, and we were on Zoom, and they were just pale and frightened, and I said to them, I'm sorry, this is not going to work. This is not the approach that you have to take to be able to confidently go and speak to people about money. It's just not going to work. And I really felt like I needed to send them off to go and have a vacation before they could actually go and raise money. I'm going to go next to Roberta. Thank you so much, Mark. Roberta, can you tell us a little bit about how your money beliefs have changed over your filmmaking and fundraising time?
Well, I have one piece of film under my belt. I'm working on my second one, but I think I was only confident enough to go to family and friends to get my first one done. So I was very careful about the budget, and I got some in-kind contributions, but it still came to, I mean, it was over $500,000 is what that film cost just to get it the way it needed to be, I think, to make a good impression.
Can I show the trailer, Roberta, before
Sure.
you say anything else, so people know? Roberta's film is called Animator. It'll look bad on Zoom, but you can also go and buy a copy. So I'm sharing my screen. Here we go. Ba-da-dum.
This represents magic. But there's so much more to animation. More than you could ever dream of.
I won the lottery! Let's make a toast. To us.
And our first place winner is Tina Miller in the high school project. Anything I want. Anything.
What is a blessing can become a curse.
Have you done this before? To me? On second thought? I don't even want to know.
Ooh, scary.
Not a horror film. You said scary, but it wasn't meant to be scary.
But it is. I mean, I think the concept, you know, is this idea, you know, if you could draw the future and it looks so good at the beginning, but
And erase the past.
yeah, and erase
That's
the
yeah, that's the twist. Yeah.
Mhm,
You know, my story is so similar to Mark's. It's kind of unbelievable to me because I had cancer, and it was very, very difficult. And the recovery period was long, several surgeries. And I asked God, why am I still here? There's so many people that have had this same disease and not made it. And after that, I just kind of got the the log line for animator, which is it's the story of an artist who could draw the future and erase the past. And I said, well, where did that come from? I knew that God had given me that. I'm a faith-based writer and producer. So once he gave me the idea, I was very sure that he gave it to me. So it was easier for me to go and get what I needed to actually start the process of pulling the film together. And even though this movie is not a quote faith-based film in terms of the content, it has a sanctity of life message in it, which is part of the faith-based community's viewpoint on that. So once I got my son to agree to help me with the animation. Animation is very expensive, and he assembled a team and they did that. It was partially animated. It's only about probably 4 minutes of animation in the entire film. But once he agreed to get his team to do that for me, I knew I was well on my way, because that was the part that was the hardest, I thought. And then my son was in advertising at the time, and he got some people that he'd worked with to look at the script, and one of the guys that he worked with wanted to direct it. That's how we got our director. He was a very accomplished commercial director, but he wanted to direct a feature film. That was kind of his goal at the time. So everything just kind of lined up perfectly, because he's an awesome director. And because he was so awesome, everything else fell into place in terms of the DP and the line producer and that kind of thing.
Didn't you also do some of your fundraising in churches?
I did. My church, actually, I gave a presentation at my church, and actually some people did contribute to that. And I also had private fundraisers among friends who gave a sizable amount as well. But like I say, it mostly came from family and friends. There was really no entity that was no organizations or anything involved in giving the money. So I have to admit, I was very hesitant to ask people for money. And then it kind of started to dawn on me that, this is really not my film. God gave me this idea. And so he's the one in charge anyway. So I just need to go ahead and get this job done and do it well. And that's what happened. The movie was very well done. It did very well in festivals. It won a couple prizes. The Los Angeles Independent Film Festival said it was the best genre film for that year. And then the largest Black film festival, ABFF, which is American Black Film Festival, it was nominated as well. It did not win. There was a movie, believe it or not, there was a movie that was executive produced by Will and Jada Pinkett Smith that won. So I didn't feel too bad about second place after them. Yeah.
I was there, Roberta. I was there.
You really? Wow.
Because I saw Sprinter, and I know the producer. He's also
and I never saw it released. I never saw it released anywhere. Did you see it released?
I don't know. I don't think I followed it.
It was not in domestic.
I've seen it.
Yeah, but since it was a Jamaican movie, I figured that they probably released it in the West Indies.
Well, no, they did release it beyond that. You can see Sprinter as well. My friend Rob Mailer was the producer for that.
I met him there at the festival.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So, and it was a good movie. I thought it was, yeah. But filmmaking for me is, I really am at an older age to take on a new career, but I just feel like this is something I'm supposed to do. So it's not like I have a choice. I just am about the business of getting it done. And I do feel now that I've been in touch with Joanne and just her wonderful effervescence and zeal for fundraising. That's kind of rubbing off on me, because now I don't feel like it's something that's uncomfortable. It's something that's necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Thanks, Roberta. Always great to have you. Kevin, would you like to show our Zoom stuttery version of your trailer?
Sure. I'm Kevin Bontuti. I'm a director producer. I'm here at University of Wisconsin. Yeah, that's my old job. University of the Pacific, and my partner Alexander and I made this great, we think great film called The Yellow Wallpaper, and it's based on the kind of well-known short story by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. So I'm gonna share my screen, and hopefully it plays well. You see that? Oh, here we go.
Yep.
What do you think of it?
Who owns it?
Right now, the court owns it. But for the summer, it's ours.
What on earth was this room?
It was a children's nursery, I believe. The playroom when they grew older. It's big and airy. Windows and wonderful views. Come. You see the gardens and arborism over here.
There's something wrong with this room.
You can't let those talks get the better of you. As soon as we change the paper, it will be the door. There's nothing worse for a nervous patient than to give way to these sort of fancies.
He cares for you so much and truly wants to see you get better.
Except he doesn't think there's anything wrong with me. It's a horrid smell. It's coming from the wallpaper, you know. You should burn this house down to the ground. I could. Standing on the floor. It sticks terribly. And the pattern just enjoys it. Those bulbous heads and strangling eyes and fungus growths just shriek with derision. And I'm getting angry now.
So,
was that the first time that a group of people have seen the trailer?
pretty much. So that was kind of a little exclusive there. Our distributor and sales agent, Mutiny Pictures, is at the European film market right now, virtually, selling the film and lining up our release, which is scheduled for March 29th. So yeah, we're really excited about the film. Seemed like we started a long time ago, and it's really exciting to get the film out in the world.
And it's good.
Oh my gosh, you know what, Lexi and I were so busy this morning, I forgot to add you to the group, because Lexi also was involved in some of the fundraising as well, and I know that Lexi had so much fun fundraising.
I mean, this was Lexi's project. I mean, really. I mean, she was the spearheaded the project. It was her idea in the beginning. She probably did, more fundraising than any of us. And, she drove this. So, and she acted in it. So, yeah, kudos to her.
I just saw Elizabeth wrote in the chat, first 3 letters of fundraising is F-U-N, fun. And isn't that the truth?
But Kevin and Lexi, do you think that as a result of having fundraised the money to make your own film, that you've grown as filmmakers or even as human beings? That's what I see watching from my perspective. What's your perspective?
Go ahead, Lex.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think the biggest thing that came out of fundraising, as far as, you know, coming up with these new ideas about like who we are as filmmakers was the fundraising part was the first time that we, speaking for both of us, I guess, saw the whole process as, you know, business and like business people as well as filmmakers, and seeing how those two really connect and how it kind of has to be both. Which, I mean, I wish it wasn't that way. But seeing it that way and like swallowing that very big pill, I think getting through that kind of makes it easier to think about potentially doing it again or going through these kind of next steps and all of this other kind of more businessy side of it that we're doing now. But that's just me, I guess.
That's great. And when is the film coming out, Kevin? And what does that part also involve some kind of new thinking about money or thinking about business and film in a different way, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, so we're scheduled for domestically coming out March 29th, and that's going to be on a whole bunch of different platforms and, you know, physical media and stuff like that. You know, we've been working, you know, we started this project, you know, taking on a story that we thought would have an audience, right? Like it's an adaptation of a pretty famous text. And so we started, I think we did a pretty good job, even just in the beginning of, you know, building an audience. You know, some of that was through crowdfunding. Some of that was through social media, and have been kind of, you know, trying to cultivate that audience is, you know, as much as possible at every step of the way through the process. So hopefully, you know, and I just got a couple emails this morning about, one was from a group of students in Oxford, Mississippi that want to see the film, right? And I haven't had a chance to email them back, but I'm kind of like, how did they hear about it, right? And so it's really interesting. You know, we had a great publicist that we worked with during our festival premiere, which was you know, last March, and really generated a lot of PR and publicity. So I think it really kind of opened our eyes around how important the publicity and marketing would be. And you know, and this is, you know, filmmaking is probably one of the most expensive art forms that you could get into. Other than maybe architecture, I guess. But, you know, there's, you know, so I think going into it, we've learned so much, you know, doing this first one, and we're applying it to like other kinds of projects too. You know, we do other sorts of art projects and some VR here and there. And I think we're able to kind of take all of this and look at, you know, just new ways of, you know, like thinking about, you know, like putting money out there, the revenue coming in, how do we apply that into the different places? So it's kind of fun. I mean, it's actually, I mean, there is, I think, fun in fundraising if you make it kind of a, like a game, right? And if you make it a process and it's something that you believe in. So, you know, yes, fundraising can be fun.
Nice. Thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you, Lexi, and Tatiana. Now, I want to remind you, Tatiana, of a moment that happened when we were working together.
Oh my.
One day, Tatiana said to me, "Oh my gosh, I've had the most stressful couple of weeks." And I said, "Oh no, what's going on?" I was thinking, is it you? Is it your daughter? Is it, you know, what's happening, you know? And do you remember this, Tatiana, what I'm going to say?
No, probably not, but it'll come crashing back.
So you said, well, you know, since you and I started working together, I realized I've been working on this film for 7 years, and now I realize, wait a minute, I've actually got to finish this. I've got to deliver it to the distributor. I got to get my legal papers in order. I got to get everything in order, all my business stuff in order. This is real.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
Yep.
I do recall that. It all comes crashing back.
So now you've had a couple of very big wins recently. I don't know how much you're allowed to say, but maybe you could tell us a little bit about your wins?
Well, I mean, it's recorded. I don't know where this is going, but hi, everybody. I haven't been around for a while, so I'll just start with introducing myself. I'm Tatiana Bacchus. I'm owner and senior producer of Teaspoon and Pound Media in the Philadelphia region, and I've been working, as Joanne said, for too many years on a feature-length documentary about a Haitian master painter and called Ulrich, Guardian of History. My family's Haitian, and I hated history growing up because it didn't include me. And so one of the big wins that we had recently is we went after some funding through a family foundation based off of what I learned from Joanne and following her instructions and going into a class and learning more about the business. And we've just been awarded a $10,000 grant towards our archival research for our film in post-production. So I think one of the things that's even more exciting than the $10,000 is that knowing that this is a significant family foundation that's willing to walk us in to other rooms. And so that was one of my asks was, you know, we were looking for X number to complete this film. And of course we would love cash, but more than that is we would also like access to other people who are like-minded. Because for me, that truncates the work that we have to do on the front end. And so another thing is that they have actually done a music project in Haiti in like the 60s or 70s. So they have all of this music that would also potentially be a resource that we are not necessarily going to have to pay for by going to the traditional licensing. So it wasn't just getting the cash, it was getting the relationship, them validating that our project was meaningful, which then other people will see. Another crazy, wonderful, amazing win is that about a year ago, I will start this by saying, always say yes to the things that scare you. I was asked to be on a panel from the film office in Philadelphia 3 years ago. I had just had a small part in a film opposite Kevin Hart called The Upside. And the panel was called She Creates, and they wanted to talk about women creating film and media and opportunities or whatever. I had not gotten that far in my documentary, but I had this trailer. So I showed the trailer for the film because I'm in it, and that's very sexy. And I said, but it took me 22 years to get those 5 lines. And so in the 22 years of not waiting for my moment, I was creating content. I was creating my own stories that were important to me. And a woman that was on the panel was a producer who had executive produced several movies for Hallmark. And last year she reached out to me and she said, would you consider writing a movie from the Black experience for Hallmark? And I thought, nobody gives me a shot. Yeah, like I didn't go to film school. I have a very different trajectory. I'm a woman of a certain age. I've been at this for a while, a lot of no's. So she said, I'll tell you how to do it. It's not rocket science. I was like, sure, I'll give it a shot. And in March of last year, I finished my first ever screenplay called Calling on Christmas. Submitted it to a competition here in Philadelphia. It advanced to like the finals. I'm waiting to find out. But kind of most importantly is that it's been acquired. I have a contract I've signed. I've actually submitted my first invoice, and it is scheduled, just between us and this recording, to be made. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, for a channel for 2022 Christmas. So I'm on my second draft. I was up till 2 a.m. working on it. And so obviously I have to deliver a draft that they will approve, which I intend to do no matter what it takes. And it looks like the film that I wrote, I'm going to just say it, I'm going to claim it, will be produced in Ottawa this spring.
And it really, I feel as though to say it's a story from the Black experience is a little bit limiting. I mean, it's really special. Can you tell us anything about it? Do you want to give us the log line or anything?
Ooh, Joanne's asking for log line. Okay, so forgot all about that. I would probably give you a terrible log line, but what I will say is it's called Calling on Christmas. I'm not going to remember the log line at this point, but it is about a woman who works at a call center for a gift basket company. And she wants to create the first franchise location that celebrates the Black experience. And so she's pitching the owner of the company, but just when she has her plan in place, a mergers and acquisitions consultant comes in with other plans. And then they're thrown together and they have to find their way and maybe fall in love.
Maybe, just maybe. So, Tatiana was actually probably one of my worst clients because every week I'd be like, what movie are we working on?
So true.
I'm like, what are we working on? And I finally was like, could you make me a list of all your projects so I could just know what we're talking about?
Yeah. It's very true. I've actually, and Joanne, I think I told Joanne this, I have signed actually 2 contracts. So I think one of the things that you learn, or I'm learning, is once you're in the process, as long as you are pivoting and working to deliver what they need, and I think if you can listen, because I had some ideas, I brought in a friend who was also doing it, and we can write whatever we want, and I think this, whether it's doc or whether it's narrative, whatever format, I think one of the biggest shifts that I learned working with you, Joanne, is meeting the moment. And so instead of making the film that I wanted to make that potentially didn't have an audience, that potentially wasn't distributable, that maybe I was going to try to finish and then say, oh, how can I sell this? Flipping that around and looking at what is needed and wanted and that I can sell, and then creating the product around that. And so, I'm a passionate creative person. So it didn't, when the woman came to me and said, I forget how she framed it, and it was a white woman who had approached me about this. And I had said, I gently pushed back and I said, well, the Black community is not a monolith. And so I could never write about the Black experience. What I would be comfortable writing about is telling a story that celebrates the Black experience. And so it started with taking what they needed and then pulling back a little bit and then framing it in a way that was more authentic to my experience and the experience of my diasporic community, but also offering it back in a way that they could digest and that works for their market.
That's really great. I mean, I'm just so thrilled for you, Tatiana. And
thank you.
And I'm still, dying to see the documentary completed. Do you know when you might be able to finish that?
The goal is this year, and I know that's, so we have our editor, we had some challenges with our assistant editor who was finishing up school, and so we had a delay, but our hard drive is officially with our editor. We are actually getting, thankfully, another assistant editor through George Mason University, because our executive producer has funding, so he's able to hire students that are focused on editing and actually pay them, which is really important to us. And so we have those resources, and he has additional resources. Our artist, thankfully, is a 68-year-old charismatic, attractive man who is relevant to the moment. His paintings, he paints on Haitian history and American history, and one of his paintings was featured in a Beats by Dre ad with Naomi Osaka. I think so. And one of his paintings, we will be going to the Carter Presidential Library to document one of the paintings that he did in the 70s. So we're really fortunate that I wanted to tell the story about this artist, and his work continues to speak to the current moment of liberation, racial justice in America and across the world. And so that's a story that's never going to change. So, and thankfully, from a business standpoint, it still is something that we can speak to and say, every time somebody like a world leader like 45 opens his mouth and says, you know, Haiti's a shithole, pardon my language, then we get to say, listen, as a Haitian American, I don't want that to be my experience. I don't want that for the future generations. So here is an alternate view that I can offer you. And there thankfully are a lot of funders and a lot of people that have resources that can get in alignment with showcasing Haiti in a different way and getting on board our love letter for Haiti. So we have a lot going in our favor, and obviously I'm leveraging every single thing I can to get resources wrapped around this film so we can finish it, Joanne.
We're going to finish it this year.
This year. And I will say, if you have a sec, you know, the other shift for me was taking this class, this Recharge Your Distribution that Joanne had mentioned and told our cohort to consider. One of the shifts for me was and Joanne, you told me like, hey, what are you doing to make money with your film now? Not when the film is done.
Right.
And so in Recharge, I learned that we could even take the trailer, and as long as we aligned with associations and conferences that were like-minded, we could potentially be brought in to do a keynote, or we could show a piece and then get to our target audience. And we actually did that. We presented to a small group of people at the Haitian Studies Association. We submitted a proposal. They gave us a plenary spot. And out of that, there were a bunch of scholars, 5 or 6, that were really passionate about the work. And they asked, do you have a fundraising committee? And I started cracking up because, you know, independent filmmaker, we don't have funding raising committees. And one of them is our moderator, right? Our moderator on the panel is from the Netherlands. And she said, have you thought about bringing the film to the Netherlands? And I said, oh yeah, I'd love to bring the film to the Netherlands. And so,
sorry, you said it earlier, but you said about the yes, you know, being able to say that. And I always say, you know, I just want my clients to get to the point where whatever they're presented with, they can respond with an enthusiastic yes. They can always come back later and say, Joanne, or you know, what do I do now? You know, but you know, to be able to initially just say yes, you know, because I would even have said in that situation, oh yes, we have a fundraising committee. It could be you and me, but you know, we have a fundraising. I would love actually any of you here, any of the guests here, if you have any fundraising links that you already have, to put them in the chat, because any opportunity like this where you're speaking publicly, you know, ask your audience for money. I think you've inspired everybody this morning, all of you. And so let's just take some questions. I like it if I can see if you raise a hand. I'm not quite sure how to look at so many people, but if anybody has a question for any of the guests, Mark, go ahead. Lovely, thank you so much. Mark Went.
The question I grapple with, and this is my first meeting, my first experience with this group, so thank you for inviting me. It's wonderful to see all of you striving and achieving the successes. My question is probably not necessarily for this group, but what's the best way to turn the script, the screenplay, into a budget? You know, there's this pricing concept that we look at, right? And we're working towards I can make this movie, as opposed to I need a big pile of money that seems unrealistic to make this movie. And so my question is, how do I come up with a decent production budget based on the scenes and the acting and the action in my film?
Before anyone answers, I just want to say, Mark, this is what one of the things we're going to be dealing with over the next 2 days. So this is going to come up a lot, but I'd love to hear what anybody has to say.
I mean, I would just jumping in here. You know, I think that, I mean, there's people obviously that literally do that thing, you know, producers, line producers that will go through your script using a, you know, kind of a fairly standard script breakdown method where it's highlighting, putting things into, you know, figuring out how many actors, how many locations, how many, you know, then kind of working into kind of how many days, right? And from there, it's going to be a matter of taking that and putting that into, you know, and starting to kind of like figure out, you know, you have to also kind of start like with the idea of like, well, what is your ballpark budget? You know, like, and what's the business plan, which I think Joanne will talk a lot about, you know, over the next few days. But so it's kind of I think it's one of those things where it kind of like comes from like two different angles. One is, you know, how you're writing the script. Are you writing it for a certain budget in mind, which I would highly recommend. You know, and then, you know, as you're going through that script, you know, looking at like how many locations, how many days can we do this? And then really kind of creating, you know, you can kind of research fairly standard day rates for actors, for, you know, crew members, and start kind of assigning those numbers, you know, and usually we do it by day. It just makes the math a little easier, and I round off a lot, but I think that kind of is a good way to kind of get it started. Funny enough, there's actually some new kind of AI software programs that are coming out that speed up the script breakdown process in terms of getting it, you know, it can kind of go in and really kind of, you know, get you there quicker. It won't do the budget, but it will, at least I haven't seen one that has, but it'll help you kind of like analyze and get a sense of like how many locations, and even you can get that now out of things like Final Draft. You know, we'll do some initial breakdown stuff. So I don't know if that kind of helps, but hopefully.
That's like a setup outline, basically.
Yeah, kind of, basically it's kind of like that.
I think a big question, assuming this is your first movie, is did you write the screenplay with a budget in mind, or did you write the screenplay and now you're trying to figure out what the budget is for that screenplay?
It's the latter.
Do you have like, how comfortable are you with fundraising for money? Like, is it, I mean, because it's hard if you have a screenplay and you didn't write it with a budget. It still could be viable, or it could be a $10 million movie, you know, if you don't have some basic experience. And so, for example, the reason I bring that up is because it might not be worthwhile having a line producer, you know, tell you what the budget should be, versus, I mean, unless of course it's a more low budget movie. I find it very difficult to write a screenplay and then to change it to make it lower budget versus writing a screenplay with at least telling yourself you can make this movie for $50,000. So it just depends on what you think that you're like, what your idea of how much money you want to raise.
I believe that the film's message is powerful enough that I can raise whatever money I need to complete the script as it's written.
And what's give me what's a line or two of the movie?
A grandmother's son dies. Yeah, the log line, basically. The only living relative of a grandmother dies, and she and his cohorts get together to take it to the man. More complicated version is her grandson dies at a student loan protest, and she and his generation get together and come up with new ways of social activism in the modern era.
And then what's your guess? Like, what's your guess on the budget?
The big pieces are the protest pieces, and then the action climax at the end where we have SWAT teams raiding a warehouse.
Moaz, I just want to ask if Roberta might jump in and say something about this. I'm putting you on the spot a little bit, but good go, Moaz. Good go, because you started out saying how
really
much
helped a lot. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I didn't
sorry,
hear
go.
you.
That second part of the log line really helped in terms of envisioning your movie. I would say that the crowd scenes that you're describing, if it's what I'm thinking of when I think about how those scenes look, the activists, you're talking about extras numbering maybe 1,000 extras. You know,
I think with the right shooting angles, we could probably get away with 400. It doesn't have to be that big.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I did with my movie, I had all SAG talent. That's going to jump your budget right there. But also I felt that in terms of the quality that brings for talent, it was worth the extra money. Otherwise, you know, my nephew is an actor who would have loved the lead role, but that just is not realistic. So I went with SAG to get around all those types of issues. But if you're going SAG, the extras make somewhere between $250 and $300 a day. So you're talking, I mean, and then if you have multiple scenes like this, just the SWAT team, if I'm imagining that type of scenario, that's going to be somewhere in the tens of thousands of dollars just to be able to have that type of, to make it look real.
Yeah.
You know, authentic with the equipment and the uniforms and all that, and the types of, you'll probably need some stunt people in there just to pull off some of those moves. So that's an expensive, in my way of thinking, that's an expensive first movie.
Yep.
I'm going to stop you there because the truth is this discussion could go on forever and ever because I think Moaz got it clearest when he said, how much money can you raise? That's really, to me, that's the question. You know, the ladies I mentioned before, the 25 million, I wish them well, but I don't see it. And so I think that what I'm going to do is just sort of, unless we have any more questions before I move on. Oh, Ryan, go ahead. Ask your question.
Well, it's not really a question. I just wanted to add on to, I've shot a couple of movies with big crowd scenes, and one was knowing that the crowd was going to already be there for a specific event. And I just got people to sign forms, you know, that were in camera with their faces. Like one was Occupy Oakland and another was this pillow fight scene in downtown San Francisco on Valentine's Day. So I already knew all these people were going to be there. So I was able to get it for free. And the police, they didn't know I was filming. It was like the back of their heads, you know, it was great. So that's all I wanted to say. You can kind of get around some of those things with indie filmmakers. And both of mine were SAG productions too.
Creativity.
Yeah.
Alexandra, do you have a question?
Yes, hi.
Hi.
It's nice to see you guys in person. My question is very simple. When it comes to writing your script to budget, do you make the budget first or write the script? Because I'm an independent filmmaker, obviously, and I kind of have an actress in mind that I would like, and I'm looking at the SAG-AFTRA pay scales, and so I'm just kind of wondering, like, which comes first?
I would say trying to come up with a general business plan, budget model that you know, like Joanne was saying about how much you think you can fundraise and how much you think the project's going to be worth in the market afterwards, and that's really what's going to determine like the ballpark of what you're doing. For us, we knew we had a recognizable story, but we went into it thinking that, and we knew that it was like something we could do with basically 4 main characters and 1 house, and so we really kind of picked the project based on an idea of what we thought we could fundraise. And then from there, we even wrote that specifically to, as few days as we could, as few, locations as we could, and really put the money that we did spend, in places that we could see it on the screen, right? So, we didn't, fortunately, we had Alexandra as the lead. So she was on as a producer and, one of the key people. So that was really helpful. And then, the other actors we hired, we filmed in Ireland, so we hired them over there, and we're kind of paying them pretty standard rates. So, we don't have any, like massive stars in the film. So we knew that we were going to be, probably in a certain kind of recoupment kind of zone. And so we tried to kind of really aim our, aim the writing to this budget model, knowing that, we might need, and we ended up going up a little bit, I think, in some places and down and, in some others. But I think really having that real sense of, what you want to do for your either first or second feature, like where you want to be ballpark wise, makes a lot of sense to kind of, have that idea as you write or rewrite.
Okay, that makes sense. Because oh, sorry, go ahead, Roberta.
I wanted to make a suggestion because I did it a little differently. I found a line producer that was highly recommended. And she gave me 2 budgets because the first one was just too expensive. And I said, okay, I can rewrite some scenes, but I need you to bring this in for $100,000 less. And between her finessing her side and me doing some rewriting, I'm also the writer of the script. We came to a budget that was doable. So I really think line producers are worth their weight because they know the industry. They know what things cost, especially if you're going to use SAG talent. Now, if you're not going to use SAG talent, then there's a lot of leeway on the budget. But it's harder for casting and that kind of thing, of course. And I did use a casting agent as well.
Alexandra, is your question, should you think about the budget before you write the screenplay or after? Is that what your question was?
Yeah, because like I said, I have an actress in mind. She's not like a big name, but she's enough of a name that it would bring an audience, but she's not like up there in the stratosphere.
I think in an ideal situation, which is really uncommon, but in an ideal situation, you would have an idea about how, write a screenplay that you can make without outside funding. And of course, with the actress in mind, I really think that's very helpful. If you haven't written screenplays, then you may just want to write whatever screenplay you want to write and then not use it. And then maybe your third or fourth screenplay will be with this actress, to get the experience. Cause it's not, it might be great at it. It might be easy for you or not, but there's a lot of movies out there that even big movies right now that could have been made for very cheap. Like, Soderbergh made Kimmy, and which is on HBO. I don't know, but the point is that it was very creative in the sense of like, I mean, a lot of us could have dealt with that screenplay and made a movie out of it. And so I think it's, if you can, talk to other filmmakers and they will give you a very great list of things to think about, like locations or shots or anything to kind of help you get going. You don't want to stifle your creativity when writing it, but if you're writing it and you're like, what, I can make this. I don't care. I can raise $100,000. I can raise $50,000 or whatever. Maybe for you, it's like, I can raise $1 million, no problem. I don't care. But I think it does, the best case scenario is you write this movie that can be made for, like Kimmy, which in my opinion can be made for micro budget or up to $10 million. I think that would be the most ideal situation.
I know mine would probably be I don't know what constitutes micro budget in Hollywood. It's a very simple concept. It's 2 characters stuck in a room together, having to get to know each other for 12 hours.
Yeah, it's
great.
You're
already off to a good start.
Yeah. Moez is talking about this show Kimmy that I just watched, and basically it's one character stuck in a room, and there are a couple of people in the windows across the hallway, right? And then there's a little section outside. But basically, it's using micro budget principles, which are one location, minimal number of actors, stuff happens.
Even like Rear Window, I guess you could argue.
Rear Window. Yeah. But I'm sure that they spent more money on Kimmy than $100,000, but definitely you can make that with $100,000 for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like you're on the right track. Now you have to just maybe, now it's the hard part, the story,
Yeah, and thank you, Kevin. I actually know the producer of MASH, so I will reach out to him.
So
fantastic film.
Thank you so much, everybody. It's so wonderful when I sort of just come up with lots of different ways that I can get to hang out with my clients, because nobody told me when I started coaching that there might be a day when I had to say goodbye to a client. I'm like, what? That's not fair. So it's always great to get you all back together. But congratulations to all of you on your films and your new successes and your new films coming up and And thank you very, very much for sharing your wisdom. And we're going to move on now with the rest of the Money Mindset program. And please feel free to join us and hang out with us and all of that good stuff. So we're going to get started. I'm just going to do a little going over the schedule because I feel as though it's very easy to get Zoom tired very, very quickly. I get Zoom tired very quickly. So I didn't mean to do that. Lexi, sorry. So what's going to happen is we're going to today start out with a session, and then we're going to go into a breakout room, because I think that one of the benefits of being on Zoom that we didn't maybe used to have is that we can meet so many more people. And one of the things that I think is really one of the most valuable things about letting go of our money mindset beliefs that might be holding us back is that it helps in networking. And networking is an incredibly important skill if you are a filmmaker. And filmmaking is a relationship-based business, and so networking is super important. So we're going to have a breakout session this afternoon. Then we'll just have a little break. I'm just going to grab a quick something to eat, and then we're going to come back and look at budgeting. It's going to be a little bit different than you might expect, but it's going to be a session on budgeting. And then that'll be then we're going to have another little breakout, and that'll be the end of today. And then tomorrow we're going to look at fundraising, and then come back to looking at our limiting money beliefs. So this morning we're going to pivot now from the filmmaker's life to vision. And so one of the things that I think is really, really significant about vision is that without a clear vision as to what we want to achieve, then it's really not possible to achieve anything. The first thing that I think is really significant for us to do is to really set down, what our vision is. And one of the things that I sometimes see with filmmakers is that there's kind of a very wide range. So today we've been talking, somebody mentioned $50,000 budget for a film, and I mentioned the $25 million budget for a film. And that seems to be kind of a big range, So, but I do think that, that we need to give ourselves a little bit of time to really come up with a vision that we can see what it is that we really want. And vision can, I think, include many, many things. Sometimes I know for myself, I don't know well, you all don't know me, but I spent 7 years in bed, too sick to work. And what I saw was that when I kind of came out of that experience, when I started to emerge from my sick bed, as it were, I didn't have much of a vision anymore. You know, really, all I could think about was, well, how do I get through the day? You know, can I make it through the day? That because I had been in that place for such a long time. You know, how do I make it through the day was you know. So I started to look around to see how I could actually develop something of a vision again, because in the past I had goals in life. I had a vision, you know, of what I wanted to do. I had done all kinds of things. I had run a cinema, I had run a film school. I put together this statewide film competition where we had cash and goods and services that added up to a $200,000 prize to make a feature film. I still have never seen anybody else have a prize to make a feature film. You see short film competitions, but not feature film competitions. So I had many visions in the past, but my life got very small due to illness, and you know, it's just kind of, you know, it was the way it was. But I eventually was able to, the way I did it actually was I started working with coaches. I remember one time I got a coach and I said, okay, I want to start a business. I didn't even know what business I wanted to do at the time. And she started working with me, and in our first session, she finally sort of said to me, I think we need to look at your health issues. And I was like, no, I want to start my business, you know. And she had me go through this whole process of, I had a number of people who had offered to help me with this and help me with that, people who offered free sessions or you know, because I had no money, I had been not working for 7 years. So she had me list out all of the ways that people had offered to help me with my health. And that was a beautiful exercise that she gave me to do, because it had me start reaching out and receive, you know, everything that people wanted to give to me. So that was really nice. And so I think when it comes to vision, I think it's great to think about not only the vision that we have of ourselves as filmmakers and what we want to make in terms of films, but what is it that we want in other parts of our lives, you know? So maybe we can think about some other areas. So health is one. Like I think I can honestly say today, I am a well person. And I've come back from a place that, I mean, people literally thought I was dead, you know. But I had a vision that I wanted to be well. I was sure I was supposed to be well. And I can have a vision for my family, for my friends, for my romantic life, for my relationship life. I can have a vision for my financial life. That's the one that I think often I see is missing for filmmakers. They see what they want to create. They don't actually see a vision for their financial life as filmmakers. I have a client who has a film coming out this year, and I said, you know, you want to think about, you know, what income you have coming in from the film, you know, and he said, huh? He was like, what? You know, because he just doesn't have it in his mind that, you know, there's going to be money flowing in. But as I said, if you don't have the vision to start with, then nothing can happen. And I'm not just saying that, you know, we're going to sit around and meditate and, you know, have the vision, but having that vision is part of it. What other things? We can have a vision for our environment, our living environment. I'm having a very fun living environment experience. You might be able to see I'm in an RV. I've never been in an RV before, but I'm living in an RV. It's super fun. And this is sort of temporary till I move into a cottage in the back. But when I have really thought about my environment, you know, for many, many years, I wanted to come back to Florida, and I am now back in Florida, and that has been part of my vision for a very long time. So environment, I think, is a big one, and an environment can include a lot of things, you know. What about a vision for education? You know, I don't know about you, but for being a filmmaker, I think that there's always something to learn. You know, I'm a co-host of a VR meetup group, and we were actually supposed to be having an event tonight. It's been postponed a little bit, but anytime I get to find out something about VR, I'm in. You know, so but I think that you know, I have I always want to make sure that education is part of what I'm doing. Right now, I have business coaches who I go to their classes and they are so over my head, it's not funny. And even that is great, to put yourself in a position where you know the least in the room is amazing. That is an amazing experience. And that's where I'm at right now. I go to those classes and I'm like, woohoo, what are we doing? But that's a great experience, you know. What about looking at a vision for charity? What would that look like? A vision for what you might be able to give, whether that's money or whether that's resources. We used the word resources before. As producers, as filmmakers, our job is to bring resources to the table. Part of those resources are going to be cash, but not all of them. And when I did that feature film competition, we had $25,000 in cash and $175,000 in goods and services. And for that money, we had 6 finalists. At least 4 of those films got made and produced, distributed. One of them I know has never been made, and I lost touch with the 6th one. But that business model is quite good. $25,000 cash, $175,000 of goods and services. And we had camera rental, sound equipment, costume, entertainment lawyer, all these different things. So, but as we bring in resources, it's also great to think about what we can give, you know. So that might look like a charity, or it might look like teaching. I do a lot of teaching for free, like this class, and it makes me very, very happy. And so all of these different areas of our life, you know, we can create a vision. And just the same as, you know, we were talking today about script writing. The one time that a film doesn't cost you a ton of money is when you're writing the script. And it's really creating the vision for your film. And as you're doing that screenwriting, you're creating the vision for a film, but now we're also talking about creating a vision for our life, our career, as I said, our finances. I think that's something that I really would like filmmakers to think about a little bit more than they tend to think about. So what I would like to do now is to have us take a little break, maybe 10 minutes writing break. And if you all could gather some paper and a pen or a pencil. I'm totally a pencil person. I have to have my pencils all the time. But if we could just take 10 minutes and do a little writing about vision, and, you know, pick any of these topics that I've talked about to write about. And particularly, I would say, given that we are filmmakers, I'd like for you to think about what your vision is for the next films that you're going to make. Or maybe it's for a film you're already making. Maybe it's for a film you're already making and you would like to get distribution. Maybe you're editing a film and you would like to get it seen in certain places. So I'd like for you to think about a vision for your life, a vision for your films. And this, as I said, is something that I think filmmakers don't think about enough. A vision for your finances. So I'm going to put a timer on. I'm going to keep everybody muted. I'm going to find some nice writing music and you can turn me off or on. And we're just going to do a little writing. Does anybody have any questions before we start? No. Okay. This should be. Yeah.
So again, what are we writing? A financial vision for the movie?
Vision, no, a vision for, it could be a vision on anything, but I'm suggesting, given that we're here as filmmakers, that you write about a vision for the films you want to make and a vision for the financial life you want to have.
Okay.
Ask the question?
Yeah. Thank you.
Who was it asked the question?
That was JJ.
JJ, okay, thank you,
Yeah,
JJ.
thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to take 10 minutes and I'm going to set the timer. Sometimes I think that partly the reason that we don't necessarily have a vision is just because we haven't given ourselves the time to just be quiet and actually write some things down. So 10 minutes is actually quite a long time. And as I said, I'm going to find some music. You can turn it on or turn it off, and we're going to have 10 minutes. We'll come back in 10 minutes, okay? I'll see you in 10. All right, so we are back, and oh my gosh, Olivier, I when I saw the name Olivier, I thought, I only know one Olivier. How wonderful that you're here. Thanks for coming. Great to see you. We have to catch up. All right, so yeah, it's really a generous thing to do for ourselves, to give us time to create our vision. And I'm not saying 10 minutes is you know, everything, but it's something, you know. So it's also not like it has to be, you don't have to go sit on a mountaintop for a week or something like that. If you want to, great. So what we're going to do next is I'm going to set up some breakout rooms, or rather Lexi's going to set up some breakout rooms for us, and we're going to share whatever you feel that you would like to share with other people. Share your visions. I know a lot of you have your cameras off. I hope you will put your cameras on for when you're in the breakout rooms, and go meet some other filmmakers. There are going to be, hi Timothy, there are going to be 3 of you in each room, and let everybody know where you are, and share something about your vision for your films, and maybe your vision from your finances, and then any other visions you want to have. And this breakout session, this breakout room is going to actually be for 15 minutes. So you have time. You're going to have at least 5 minutes each. Make one person maybe the timekeeper in the group. Let's have the person with the shortest hair in each group is going to be the timekeeper. Okay, Mark wins hands down. Okay, and yeah, let's have you all meet some filmmakers, and I'll Lexi set up the rooms, I'll set the timer, and then we'll call you all back in together, and we'll have a little report out. Don't share anything you don't want to share. It's fine, but we're all filmmakers. Hi, Anne Marie. Hi. Bye, everybody, for 15 minutes. See who you meet. I just wanted to see who is here from the furthest away. So I'm in Florida. Who's far away? Mark is in New Mexico.
I'm from
Oh,
Bangladesh.
okay.
Hi, Manoj. This
who
is
is that?
Manoj from. Sorry, it's collapsing. Hi, I'm Manoj Mehdi from Bangladesh.
Bangladesh! Yay! Awesome!
Have you
Awesome!
great. I'm very grateful to have you all this community. And Jonah, I enjoying it very much, your community. And I joined it for second time. Years before I was joined with you.
Fabulous, fabulous. Thank you so much, Maris.
Thank you
Olivia,
so
it's
much.
so good to see you. And Peter is from
Yeah.
South Africa.
Yes, hello.
Hello. And who else do we have from far, far away? Lynette is from New Zealand. That might be further than Bangladesh. I'm not sure. And Osbert, where are you from, Osbert? Remind me where you're from. I don't see him now. Maybe we lost him again. Anyway, I just love it. I'm a very international person myself. So I just love it when we have international guests. Anybody else from outside the US?
Yeah, this is Mahendra. I'm from India.
Whereabouts in India, Mahendra?
It's in the western part, Gujarat actually.
Gujarat.
I mean, if you look at it from this side, then there's always a confusion, because what you call Middle East is for us it's the West. So it's a kind of.
Thank you so much, Mahendra, for coming probably in the middle of the night. So anyway, fabulous. Thank you all for being here.
Hi.
So, oh, Bilal, where are you from?
I'm from Iran.
Iran! Yay! Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Frenny, that doesn't count. You're
Thank
from LA. But you're from Taiwan, Frenny, huh? Yes, wonderful, wonderful.
Yes.
I'm from England, but I've been here a long time, so it doesn't count. And I'm half Trinidadian, so I'm just a very international person. I just love to have international people. It makes me very happy. I hope you enjoyed meeting some people. We got a little confused with the breakout rooms, so some of you we moved by mistake. So sorry about that. But I hope you met some good people. And I wonder who would like to share a little bit. Right after this, we're just going to take a break, a 15-minute break, just to not look at Zoom. But just for the next maybe 15 minutes, I'd love to hear what some of you came up with when you gave yourself a little time to come up with a vision. Alexandra, and if you could raise your hand physically or raise your hand, digitally, that would be really helpful. Then I don't have to read the chat. Go ahead, Alexandra. What vision?
Mine was very simple. For my life, I want to be based out of LA with a job I love, which is making movies. I want someone to love and maybe children. I haven't decided yet on the children part. But I definitely want lots of dogs.
Oh.
For films, I want to make films that edutain, which means they educate and entertain at the same time. Films that matter and films that I'm proud of. In terms of finances, I want to be debt-free and living a comfortable lifestyle. So I want to own my own home, have my bills always be paid on time, and when I'm ready to purchase a car, be ready to pay in cash so that I don't have a car note.
Alexandra, that was wonderful. You did all that in 10 minutes? Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. That was great. That was great. Mark, what did you come up with for your vision?
Can I be heard?
Yes.
Okay, so my vision for the films is I want to make films about magic, passion, and meaningful issues. My vision is to produce intimate stories that inspire us to think outside of the box in ways that change the world. I want to make films that challenge our assumptions and look beyond the curtain of illusions to ask these questions. Who are we? Why are we here? How can we make a difference? What can we contribute to the greater good? How can we reduce suffering? And how can we be kinder to others?
Oh, big vision. Big vision, big vision. What did you come up with about your vision for your finances? Did you work on that at all?
Yeah, I did. I want to have an income, enough income to cover my expenses and save for the future, for family, and to visit the people I love. I will have prudent reserves, ample cash flow, and be building investments to leave a legacy to live on.
Leaving a legacy, that's a very interesting concept. There was a time in my life that I thought I was going to become a specialist and fundraising specialist around legacy building, and I was just about to go down that road, and then I went back to film. But yeah, I'm very, very interested in planned giving. Anybody who has a nonprofit here, I'm very interested in planned giving and building legacy. It's a very interesting concept to me. Thanks, Mark. Denise.
Hi, I'll share my vision for my finances. I put,
okay.
I see myself being able to use money as a tool to start organizations and businesses that help serve a large disproportionate population that is underserved. The money I make from my films will be used to also propel my next ventures, like an entertainment company, a record label, and a publishing company. I will have venture capitalists and investors interested, and for the most part, I will get as many opportunities without needing money that I will be able to save big and earn enough to buy my dream home. And this will allow me to enjoy life's luxuries like space, time, and love, and hopefully different locations out of the country, and a property in Malibu. Thank you.
Where is your dream home going to be, Denise?
I'm hoping to have like a unique property. Like I want to buy land and hopefully just build something creative and unique that nobody has.
Nice. I can see it. I really could see your vision. It's really amazing. That what we can come up with in 10 minutes, right? Really amazing. Yeah. Thank you, Denise. I'd love to see what you look like. Go brush your hair or something. Yay! Thank you. Thank you. That's great. Mark, go ahead. Mark went.
My vision is to have a series of filmmaking experiences that are rich in community creativity and inspire the audience to see new possibilities for how we all live and shape the world of our global communities. My desire is to feel the energy of breathing life into the stories, to experience the joy of the creative process along with the hard work and magic that's part of shooting films that are action dramas. My vision is that these stories will inspire the audience to take action in how they show up in the world, that there will be thought-provoking, emotional discussions between the people who see the films, and my financial vision includes having a personal profit of $3 million in my bank account when I complete the production of these 4 endeavors.
Ooh, look at that, a nice number. $3 million. Yes, yes, yes. That is great. That's right. It's just amazing to me what you all come up with in 10 minutes. You know, that's incredible. That's incredible. Shannon, please go ahead and share.
Yeah, my film goal, I guess, is to break even for a film, or even just like put money into a film for once. Have something where I'm creating without like sacrificing a bunch of stuff because of budget. Not necessarily like, oh, I want to create like a $5 million budget, but just like from a budget of zero to maybe a few $1,000s. That's what I mean by not sacrificing stuff. Actually, like trying to make the product close to what the vision entails. And financially, I guess, to make a salary, or not even a salary, just make
Shannon,
money
I'm
from
gonna
own
stop you.
films.
I'm going to
Mhm.
stop you right there. I feel as though if I had asked somebody to segue me into the next section, I couldn't have picked a better person than you. So,
Perfect.
I hope you will play with me a little bit. So,
Sure.
the first thing you said was, I would like to break even on a film. Why do you have that in your vision?
Specifically breaking even is because I still don't quite understand how low budget or short films make money yet. I'm not still understanding that fully, also because I just don't have experience really in that. So that seems like a viable option rather than like making a bunch of money. I've worked with friends who like have raised like a few $1,000,000 and like don't break even. Friends who've made like $20,000 things don't break even. I just don't understand how it happens. So, and I think then that's yeah.
This is what I would like to suggest to you. That in our vision, while I was a little bit encouraging you all to be a little bit realistic, because I kept bringing up the 25 million, you know, and saying, but I think in your vision, one of the things that would help you is to let go of all of the things that you don't see, that you don't know, that you don't understand. And again, if you think about this as what you would do if you were writing a script, or if you're making a documentary and you're putting your narrative arc together in your documentary, or however you write your documentary, but you're creating a vision that doesn't necessarily have to be rooted in reality. So one of my favorite spiritual teachers is Esther Hicks. And she, if you want to go on YouTube, you'll see Esther Hicks has about 500 million videos. Elizabeth, yay! Esther Hicks. So she channels this entity called Abraham, and it's a great way to learn about positive thinking. She teaches the law of attraction. So she would say that you have a major case of what isness. And so what you're doing is you're trying, at the same time that you're growing a vision, you're trying to be based in reality. But what is not necessarily anything to do with vision, you know? So I'm here in an RV, but you know, my vision could be that I'm living in I don't know, I just suddenly saw a house on top of a mountain covered in snow. So it doesn't necessarily mean that I know how I'm going to be in a house on top of a mountain covered in snow, but it's just asking myself to let go of what is and see a vision for myself of where I would like to go, and just asking myself those questions. So yeah, you're suffering from a huge case of what isness.
That's so funny, because part of my financial goals was kind of to stop worrying, because I'm so focused in making money that I'll take jobs, not giving myself time to kind of grow in the aspects of filming that I want to. So I'll go into another city and work, you know, the 80 hours a week on set for 7 months, and then I'll take another show, and I never have time to actually do what I want. So my financial goal is actually to stop working as much, to be able to kind of let myself in that mindset go, especially because I also do so much like production coordinating and like work close with line producers. So my mind is always budget, unrealistic. So that's definitely a goal, to stop worrying so much about that.
Yes. I think that it's a little bit about just sort of unhooking from what is so that you can play. And that's why I keep bringing up about a script, because when you write a script, you don't necessarily worry about, is it real, or, you know, has it happened yet? No, it's being envisioned as you write. So in a way, you can use those same skills that you have as a creative person to just now create your life, you know. And then some of you, as you read your visions, I could really see them, you know, and I could really feel them. And that's how we change what is now and what is in the present to where we want to go. And it's really helpful to have a vision, but it doesn't matter if it's the house on the mountain, the house in Malibu, the house, you know, whatever that is. That's the creative process that we use there. And I wanted to say, part of I've been saying, you know, I work on money mindset with my one-on-one clients all the time, but I haven't taught this publicly before. So I wanted to also say, because I never talk about this, that I have a very long-term background in personal development work. I have trained as a shaman in a Peruvian shamanism system and studied shamanism from all around the world. And I've had therapy for 30 years. I've been in 12-step programs for 30 years. I have done this and that and this and that. And one of the big things that I have really learned is that there are ways that we can make change in the material world, but that the initial place that we need to make the change is not in the material world. That change happens in the vision that we create, and then let it go. You know, just sort of send it out to the universe and let that vision go. Or you can take another approach and say, you know, because some of the visions that we heard were just beautiful, and just take that vision and read it every day. That's a different way of approaching it. Sort of like, this is my vision, I'm going to read it every day. You can go one step further and say, I'm going to share this vision with another person every day, and actually watch how that vision happens. Another tool I was taught years ago was to have a God box, and take your vision and write down all the different things on little pieces of paper and fold them up and put them in your God box, and then maybe a year later come and see which of them have come true. You know, and
love that.
Just see what's happened. You know, what did I get in my God box? You know, and you don't have to call it God box if you don't want to call it, just, you know, my vision box. It could be, but I think that there's part of us that if we allow ourselves to be free and allow ourselves to play, that we can really, you know, have joy in creating visions for ourselves. So thank you for letting me give you that feedback.
Yes, thank you so much.
So now we're going to take a little break. How are we doing on schedule, Lexi? Wow, almost exactly perfect. We're going to take just a little break until, let's say, 2:35, and we're going to come back after the little break. I know it's not a long break, but it's not a very long day. We're only doing till 4, and after the break we're going to start working on budgeting. And so I know Mark had asked a question about budgeting, Alexandra asked a question about budgeting earlier. This is going to be budgeting from a slightly different perspective. but it's the perspective that I always teach because I find that a lot of filmmakers are kind of stuck in places that we can pretty easily get unstuck from if we just look at things from a slightly different perspective. So we're going to take a break till 2:35 Eastern time, which is Pacific time.
I've got no idea where.
It's 11:35 Eastern or Pacific.
11:35. And so for all of you fabulous international peeps, it's in 15 minutes from now. Okay, so I'm going to put a timer on, and we will be back in 15 minutes for Budgeting 101.
Awesome.